You've probably heard this before, right? Your net worth will never outgrow your self-worth. It's such a powerful statement, and honestly, it's the core idea we're going to unpack today. You know, so many of us are laser-focused on building our careers, our finances, our entire external world, but we completely forget about the foundation that all of that success is built on, our own sense of value.
Welcome to Daily Book Insight. Today, we are diving deep into a super practical, really actionable framework from international best-selling author Marc Reklau. We're going to deconstruct his 30-day blueprint, which is designed to radically improve your self-esteem, and with it, your professional confidence and your effectiveness. So forget those quick fixes. This is about building a solid inner foundation, one powerful habit at a time.
So here's our roadmap for today. First up, we'll talk about the self-esteem ceiling. Then we'll get into the solution, Marc Reklau's 30-day blueprint. And after that, we're going to break it all down week by week, covering radical ownership, mastering the inner game, living authentically, and wrapping it all up with proactive happiness.
Okay, let's start by defining the problem. What is this invisible barrier that holds so many of us back, even when we're super talented? Well, we're calling it the self-esteem ceiling. It's that unconscious self-imposed limit on how much success, happiness, and just fulfillment we actually allow ourselves to have.
Now, to really get this, we're going to borrow a fantastic definition from the psychologist Nathaniel Branden. He says self-esteem is basically a two-part equation. Part one is self-efficacy. That's your trust in your ability to cope, to think, to learn, to handle whatever life throws at you. It's your confidence. But part two is self-respect. This is that deep-down belief that you are worthy of happiness and success. And here's the kicker. You need both. You can be amazing at your job, but still feel like a total fraud who doesn't deserve any of it. That imbalance, that's where all the trouble starts.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly. The two paths you can be on. On the left, you've got high self-esteem, positive self-image, confidence, you see problems as challenges to be solved. And on the right, low self-esteem, negative self-image, lack of confidence, fear of change. Just take a second and be honest with yourself. Which column do you find yourself living in most of the time?
And let's be clear, this isn't just about feelings. This stuff has real, tangible costs in your career. Low self-esteem is what makes you accept a job offer that's way below what you're worth. It's what keeps you stuck in a toxic work environment for way too long. It's that voice in your head that tells you not to speak up in a meeting, even though you have a brilliant idea. And even when you do succeed, it's that little whisper that says, oh, that was just luck, robbing you of the chance to actually enjoy your own accomplishment.
Okay, so we've identified the problem, we see the ceiling, we get the costs. Now for the good part. Let's pivot to the solution. We're going to unpack the clear, structured framework that Marc Reklau developed to systematically tear down that ceiling.
And our main source for this blueprint is Reklau's fantastic book, Love Yourself First. Now, he doesn't just offer up some vague, feel-good advice. No. Instead, he gives us a concrete, step-by-step guide that is packed with practical exercises designed to install the habits that create and, more importantly, sustain healthy self-esteem. And this just shows you how brilliant the structure is. He organizes the whole transformation into a 4-week sprint. Each week has a totally distinct focus, and it builds on the last one. We start with taking radical ownership, then we move to winning the inner game, then living with authenticity, and finally, we learn how to engineer proactive happiness. It's this perfect, logical progression.
Okay, let's dive into week one. This is all about taking back the controls of your life. I mean, the core idea here is simple. You cannot build a strong sense of self on a foundation of victimhood. It's just not possible. Radical ownership isn't just about taking responsibility, it's about reclaiming your power and realizing you are the author of your life story, not just some side character. So week one is built on these 3 pillars. First, taking 100% responsibility. Reklau is super blunt about this. He says, there is only one person that's responsible for your life, and that is you. That means no more blaming your boss, the economy, or your past. Second, you have to cut out the energy-draining habits of complaining, blaming, and gossiping. They just keep you powerless. And finally, you start the actual process of building an unshakable belief in yourself.
So how in the world do you actually build that belief? Well, Reklau gives us a practical 3-part method. First, use affirmations. Now, this isn't magic. It's about rewiring your brain. When you repeat a positive statement like, I'm a confident and capable leader, you're literally forging new pathways in your brain. Second, visualize. Create a super detailed mental movie of what you want. And third, and this is huge, fake it till you become it. You have to act as if you're already that person. Action comes before the feeling, not the other way around. Okay, with that foundation of ownership firmly in place, week 2 is where we take the work inward. This is all about mastering the world between your ears. You know, the thoughts, the emotions, the self-talk that really shape your reality and your performance.
So in week 2, we're going internal. The first step is to truly know yourself. What are your core values? What really drives you? It's amazing how many of us are basically strangers to ourselves. Next, you're going to learn to face down your inner critic, that relentless voice that just loves to point out your flaws and dismiss your strengths. And finally, you tackle 2 of the biggest saboteurs of self-esteem: perfectionism, which tells you nothing is ever good enough, and guilt, which keeps you chained to your past mistakes.
This quote from Reklau it hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? That little voice that points out every single mistake is your biggest enemy. So the first step is just to become aware of it. Notice when it shows up. But here's the tactic. Don't argue with it. Instead, Reklau suggests you just meet its negativity with dismissive phrases like, "So what?" or "Who cares?" or even "You bore me." This totally strips the critic of its power. You hear the voice, but you stop buying into its story.
All right, so we're taking ownership, we're managing our inner world. Week 3 is about bringing that new inner reality into our external actions. It's all about closing the gap between who you really are and how you show up in the world, creating this incredible sense of alignment and integrity.
Living authentically is really all about alignment. It starts with radical self-acceptance, just embracing your strengths and your weaknesses without any judgment. Then, you absolutely have to break the habit of comparison, which, as we all know, is the thief of joy. The third practice is prioritizing your own needs, understanding that self-care is not selfish, it's essential. And finally, you learn to set healthy boundaries, which is basically how you teach other people how to respect you and your time. And this slide just contrasts the 2 mindsets so perfectly. The toxic habit is always looking outward, competing with other people, constantly seeking their approval, comparing your chapter 1 to their chapter 20. The healthy, authentic habit is turning all that focus inward. Your only competition is who you were yesterday. Your goal isn't validation from others, it's your own personal excellence. You stop watching everybody else's path and you just focus on walking your own. This shift right here is an absolute game changer.
And that brings us to the final week of our 30-day sprint. After we've built ownership, mastered our inner game, and started living authentically, week 4 is all about making happiness a conscious, proactive choice instead of just some passive hope.
So, Reklau gives us this incredibly powerful toolkit for engineering happiness. Step 1. Train yourself to be a benefit finder. Actively look for the lesson or the opportunity in every single setback. Step 2. Celebrate your wins, big and small. Acknowledging your past successes builds momentum. Step 3, practice active gratitude. And step 4, and this is huge, curate your environment. This means seeking out mentors, allies, and colleagues who lift you up, not the ones who drain your energy.
Okay, wow. We've covered the entire 30-day blueprint. I know it's a lot of information, and it can feel a little overwhelming. But true transformation doesn't happen just from understanding a framework. It happens by taking that very first tiny step. So let's bring this all home with a simple, powerful action.
The number you see on the screen is 5%. This isn't about some massive 100% overhaul of your life overnight. Come on, that's just a recipe for failure. The key, and this is borrowed from an exercise by Nathaniel Branden, is to focus on a small, manageable improvement. A tiny shift. Just 5% more awareness, 5% more action.
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial question. Look back at everything we've talked about. Taking responsibility, silencing that inner critic, stopping comparison, practicing gratitude. Don't try to do it all at once. Just pick one. Which one of these practices could you bring just 5% more attention to, starting right now, today? Because that small, consistent effort, that is the real secret to unlocking your self-worth.
If you found this explainer valuable, please like it, subscribe for more deep dives just like this one, and share it with anyone you know who is ready to upgrade their life. Thanks for watching.